Revealed. How an unexpected request for a husband transformed my daughter's life in just 30 days. Emily stood frozen in the late afternoon sunlight, her hand lingering over the envelope that had just altered the entire trajectory of her life. The neatly penned address was from Texas, from the grandmother she barely knew, estranged by years of silence and the gradual dismantling of familial ties. Flipping it open, she read her grandmother's heartfelt words, tinged with nostalgia and a request that felt unbearably archaic. Help us continue the family legacy and find a husband. The absurdity of it struck her like lightning. She was only 17, brimming with ambition, determined to escape her small-town confines and attend a prestigious university. Marriage was not on her agenda. It felt like a weight dragging her backwards. She paced the kitchen, her breathing rapid as her mother, Sarah, entered. The tension was palpable, hand clenching her textbooks as she studied Emily's face. "What's got you so worked up?" Sarah asked, already knowing that the letter wouldn't hold good news. Emily thrust it toward her, the words a declaration of war against the dreams she had forged. Brushing aside her mother's instinctive gasp, Emily launched into an explanation. "I find this so outdated. We're supposed to continue some legacy? This isn't the 1950s. As they argued, the air filled with the discomfort of unspoken grievances. Sarah's voice rose softly. "Emily, we have responsibilities, family ties. But you're so focused on your future that you overlook the depth in relationships." The words fell heavy between them, and Emily felt the swell of frustration pooling in her gut. Why couldn't she just chase her dreams without the burden of tradition anchoring her down? They were worlds apart, the mother's insistence on loyalty and the daughter's drive tearing at the seams of their bond. The conversation spiraled, both their voices rising, drowning out the chaotic heartbeat of the home and the laughter of nearby children. As Sarah urged Emily to reject her grandmother's request outright, Emily felt a rush of rebellious defiance burgeoning inside her. "Maybe I'll accept it just to prove a point," she declared, her voice cracking under the weight of her resolve. The very thought sent a wave of anxiety rolling through her, but she shoved it down. Emily envisioned plunging into the dating scene, a series of awkward encounters, potential heartbreaks, every moment serving as a mirror reflecting her beliefs about love and commitment. Each prospect that she'd meet was bound to challenge how she viewed tradition, family, and even herself. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days slipped by, and soon Emily was caught up in the whirlwind of her modern dating venture. Each date was a bizarre adventure. Cringeworthy moments, mixed signals, and unexpected chemistry collided with the remnants of her disbelief. Beneath it all, a gnawing tension persisted, amplifying with every passing day because Sarah watched from a distance, concern etched into her brow. When she wasn't busy reassuring herself that Emily's path was still set in stone, there was a flicker of something else. Fear of loss, fear of her daughter tumbling too far into an abyss of doubt. And then came the day when Sarah's past crashed into their present. It happened in the most unassuming way. A casual conversation that revealed secrets long buried. Emily was left gasping, her mind racing at the implications. The tension snapped. The boundaries they thought they had understood were shattered, leaving only the chaotic debris of dreams and desires. As whispers of her grandmother's legacy filled the air, Emily's heart raced. Was she prepared for the truth that could alter everything? Just as the clock started counting down, an unexpected message blinked on her phone, a trail leading straight to uncertainty. Emily stared at the bright screen of her phone, her heart pounding in her chest as the message from an unknown number glowed ominously in front of her. It took her a moment to gather herself, to process the gravity of the situation. Every date, every awkward conversation she'd engaged in suddenly felt trivial in comparison to this suspenseful moment. She hesitated before swiping the screen, anxiety twisting within her as she read the words. "Hi, Emily. It's Alex. I think we should talk. I found out something you need to know about your family." A tremor ran through her as she felt the implications of this unexpected outreach crash over her like a wave. The dates she had been navigating were mere surface distractions. The depths of her family legacy were about to claw their way into the forefront of her life again. She had tried to escape it, to drown out the noise of tradition and expectation with every diversion she could find. But here it was, knocking at her door. Taking a deep breath, Emily noticed a stomach-churning fusion of dread and curiosity. Who was Alex? She had no memory of him, and yet the urgency in his message set a fire lighted deep within her. She felt that old familiar tension flare up, a reminder of the conversations with her mother. Perched on the edge of her bed, she wrestled with her thoughts. Was this just another ploy to ensnare her into family obligations? Or was there a deeper truth embedded in his words? Deciding to take a step toward the unknown, she texted back, "What do you want to tell me?" The response came swiftly, as if he had been waiting on the edge too. "Meet me at the old park tomorrow. I can't explain everything over text. Just trust me, I won't disappoint you." The ball of dread deepened, twisting tighter around her core as she stared into the distance, considering her options. A slew of conflicting thoughts flooded her mind. The notion of tradition versus her dreams. The nagging fear of becoming entrapped in expectations versus the desire for knowledge about her family's history. Each aspect felt like a wrestling match of ideas, with determination battling against apprehension. That night, sleep eluded her as her mind spiraled through the ramifications of what she was about to uncover. Was she ready for this? Did knowing more about her family mean sacrificing the independence she so fiercely desired? The prospect filled her with uncertainty, but somewhere in the depths of her heart, a flicker of resolve ignited. The urge to piece together her identity and reclaim a narrative that felt lost, perhaps even forgotten. The next morning she dressed carefully, each movement deliberate as she primed herself for the encounter. It wasn't just Alex she was meeting. It was her lineage, her struggles, and potential resolutions. This decision sent her spiraling toward an uncharted chapter of secrets, which may ultimately redefine who she was and what she wanted to become. Did she have the strength to confront the legacy she had so vehemently opposed? As she made her way to the park, the air hung thick with anticipation. The trees loomed like sentinels, watching her approach with an ancient wisdom. Emily's resolve steeled, navigating the murky waters ahead. The unknown awaited her, and as she spotted Alex sitting on a bench beneath the rustling leaves, she felt the first stirrings of clarity and purpose, fueled by a burgeoning determination. Little did she know, the encounter with him would unravel everything, not just about her family but also about herself in ways she could never have anticipated. As she drew nearer, the air charged with an electric tension, whispering of past wounds and future possibilities waiting to be discovered. The moment of truth had arrived, and Emily had to decide how deep she was willing to dive into the legacy that was sweeping in all around her. Emily approached the bench with measured steps, her heart racing. Alex looked up, his gaze penetrating, as if he could see straight into her swirling thoughts. The moment their eyes met, an unspoken agreement passed between them. They were both haunted by histories only partially known. She sat down across from him, feeling the weight of the conversation that lay ahead. "Thank you for coming," he began, voice steady but low, as if fearing the leaves themselves might catch their words. Emily nodded, unsure of how much to reveal of her own apprehension. "I know this is sudden, but you need to understand that what I have to say could change everything for you." "Then please just tell me." The urgency in her tone surprised even herself, but she was not ready to dance around ambiguous words. Her independence had always been fought for, and she wasn't inclined to let anything or anyone take that away from her now. Alex inhaled sharply, collecting his thoughts before diverting his gaze toward the path behind her, as if seeking clarity in the distance. "Your family. They have a history, one that has effects rippling into the present. You may not realize how intertwined you are with it." Questions flared in Emily's mind like fireworks. She had distanced herself from her lineage, crafting her path away from what felt like dead weight. But unequivocally, a part of her, perhaps the scared inner child she'd buried so deeply, was desperate for connection, for answers. "What do you mean? What kind of history?" "The kind that shapes who you are, Emily," he replied gently, slowly meeting her eyes again. "Your family has powerful ties. Your grandmother's decisions and your mother's struggles. They all connect to you in ways you don't know yet." At that moment, a sense of urgency bubbled up inside her. She had spent years dodging conversations about her family, the unending expectations shadowing her every decision. And yet, here was this stranger, this Alex, nudging her toward a truth she had long since buried. Was she ready to confront all she had fled from? "Why should I trust you?" she challenged, emboldened now by her own budding defiance. Alex sighed, a look of understanding flashing across his face. "I know it's hard. I'll admit I have my own reasons for wanting you to learn this. But I also believe it could free you." His words resonated within her like a distant echo, striking a chord she didn't know still existed. There was an almost imperceptible shift in the air, thick with potential and the scent of damp earth. Emily felt that prickling sensation of self-awareness. It was one thing to run away from her family. It was quite another to comprehend the costs of that choice. She was backed into a theoretical corner. Could she really keep running without facing the inevitable? "I can't afford to be tied to something I don't believe in, Alex," she asserted, a visceral shudder traversing through her, every fiber of her being reaffirming her resolve to break the mold. But inside, a voice whispered of the deep need to belong, to understand her roots, not as chains but as a source of empowerment. "Is it that you don't believe or that you fear the commitment it may require?" he countered, searching her expression for the truth hidden beneath. There was a challenge in his eyes, a dare. A pulse of frustration flared within her. She had long considered herself the master of her choices, yet the notion of familial commitment intertwining with her ambitions spiraled into chaos within her. What was at stake here? What else could she uncover? Before she could speak, he pressed on. "What if there's more to your story? A hidden strength that could empower not just your choices, but your future." Emily felt the ground shift beneath her, as if her very identity was being unearthed. The battle within her intensified. Amidst the swirling emotions of dread and possibility, she felt an urge to seize control, to turn the narrative around, uncovering her own power for the first time. The moment hung in the air as if daring her to leap into the unknown. Could Alex be the key to an unimaginable chapter in her life? One where she reclaimed her past instead of running? As she opened her mouth to respond, the weight of her family's legacy pressed heavily on her shoulders, whispering for resolution. But this time it was time for Emily to decide her destiny, for the first time on her own terms. Would she dive into the abyss that awaited her, or shy away once more? All at once she realized she was standing at the precipice of discovery. Of her family, yes, but more critically of herself. And that thought both terrified and exhilarated her. "Tell me everything," she finally said, clutching the bench tightly, ready to take the plunge into the depths of unanswered questions. As Alex began to speak, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the journey ahead would reveal not just the secrets of her family, but dark areas of her own heart she had yet to explore. As Alex leaned in, the intensity of his focus deepened. Emily could see the resolve in his eyes, and her own pulse quickened in response. He began to piece together the jigsaw of her past, his voice steady but laden with gravity. "What you don't realize, Emily, is that your grandmother was a woman of resilience but also of choices that haunted our family lineage. She made sacrifices that shaped your mother, creating a chain of decisions that trickled down to you. The type of woman you are becoming links back to those choices, whether you accept that or not." Emily's mind raced, grappling with the notion that the very essence of her identity was tied to specters of the past. Instinctively, she crossed her arms, shielding herself from what felt like an invasion. "What does her being resilient have to do with me? I've worked hard to break those molds. I am not defined by her struggles." Or perhaps you're defined by your refusal to acknowledge them. Alex challenged softly. The words stung, igniting a mix of anger and uncertainty within her. What am I supposed to do with that? Just sit and accept my past like some kind of inheritance? She felt her defenses rising, layering them over her vulnerable core. Not accept as in resignation, but understand, he explained, his tone shifting from confrontational to compassionate. There's power in understanding where you come from. It could help you discern who you want to be, free from fear of legacy. Emily felt the weight of her family history pressing against her chest, but the thought of embracing it sent a wave of rebellion coursing through her. How could she reconcile with a heritage she had fought so hard to distance herself from? Look, Alex continued, his gaze unwavering. It's not about living in the shadows of your past. Rather, it's about extracting the lessons from it. Your grandmother made choices trying to control what she couldn't. Does that resonate with you? The air around them crackled with tension. Without realizing it, Emily began tracing the outline of her thumb along the bench, a subconscious response to her inner turmoil. There was a spark of recognition in his words, an empathic tug that made her wonder if her past and present were connected in ways she had never allowed herself to consider. Fine, she conceded, her voice barely above a whisper. What does it mean for me? What do I do with this knowledge? It means looking beyond just your individual path, Alex replied, his voice firm yet encouraging. You are not just an isolated person in this larger universe. You embody a narrative that could empower others, even a narrative that challenges what came before you. It's a chance to reclaim it, but first you must be willing to face it. The prospect was both electrifying and daunting. Could she truly uproot the weight of her family's history and use it as a platform for her evolution? This was not merely about gaining information, it was about transformation, and it involved risk. What if I fail? The question slipped past her defenses, a raw admission of her deepest fear. Failure isn't the end. It's merely another part of discovery, Alex replied, a glimmer of resoluteness lighting his expression. By embracing your roots, you grant yourself the opportunity to redefine them, and to discover strengths within yourself you never acknowledged. As he spoke, a new determination began to bubble up within her, like a fragile blossom breaking through hardened soil. Images flashed in her mind, the self-doubt that had stifled her voice, the reluctant acceptance of a lone path. Perhaps here was a chance to weave a new narrative, one where she took ownership of her identity. I understand I have to face my past, she said slowly, her heart hammering against her ribs. But how? Start by connecting with those who have lived it, he answered intentionally. You'll need to learn about the choices they made, the burdens they carried. In understanding their stories, you may unlock your own. As Emily digested his words, she realized she was standing on the precipice not merely of discovery, but of potential action. She envisioned herself reaching out to relatives she had long avoided, allowing herself to reveal the very fears that had incarcerated her for years. The other side of that growth was liberating and terrifying. I can't promise it'll be easy, she muttered, more to herself than to Alex, whose steady gaze remained fixed on her. Nothing worth having ever is, he said, a shadow of a smile crossing his lips. With that, the seed of determination took root within her. She could almost hear the echo of her grandmother's struggles mingling with her own aspirations, a call to courage that was too strong to ignore. Maybe, just maybe, this was the transformative journey she had silently craved. And as Emily's resolve hardened, she grasped the direction of her next steps. She was prepared to confront her past, but deep inside, a new question emerged. How far would these revelations push her into realms she had never anticipated? The looming possibility felt like both an invitation and a challenge, and she would not shy away from either. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, heart racing as she considered her next move. The walls of her room felt like they were closing in, laden with memories and unanswered questions. In one moment, Alex had opened a door she had spent years slamming shut. Now she stood at a threshold she never wanted to approach, staring back at the shadow of her family's history while feeling the gravity of her choices ahead. With trembling fingers, she picked up her phone and scrolled through her contacts. Names of relatives she hadn't spoken to in years filled the screen. Each name felt like a weight, a burden she had long avoided. The dread of confrontation loomed, but the urge to understand grew stronger. Her thumb hovered hesitantly over her Aunt Angela's name. Emily recalled stories she had heard about her, stories laden with struggle and sacrifice, the very essence of the heritage she had distanced herself from. With a deep breath, she summoned her courage and pressed call. The phone rang, each beep echoing her anxiety. What would she say? How could she reach out to someone she scarcely knew? The ringing felt like a countdown to an inevitable moment of truth. Hello? Angela's voice broke through the tension, and Emily's stomach flipped. Hi, Aunt Angela. It's Emily, she stammered, surprised by the slight tremor in her own voice. Emily? Wow, it's been a while. How are you? There was warmth in her tone, but Emily felt a growing pressure within her. I've been thinking a lot about family lately, she admitted, the words pouring out as if they had been locked away too long. I wanted to know more about Grandma, about your experiences, about where I come from. For a moment, a silence stretched between them. Emily could almost hear Angela's surprise through the line, coupled with guarded concern. I can't say it will be pleasant, Angela finally replied, her tone turning cautious. But if you're prepared to hear it, I'd be willing to share what I can. Emily nodded to herself, determination thickening her resolve. I am ready. I want to understand. Their conversation unfolded slowly but meaningfully. Angela recounted stories of their grandmother's fierce spirit, the sacrifices she had made for her family, and the burdens she had carried alone. Each word was painfully raw, peeling back layers of the past Emily had never wished to uncover. As she listened, emotions surged within her, a mix of anger, empathy, and a burgeoning clarity about her own life. Angela spoke of choices made in desperation, of legacies that lingered in darkness. Emily felt as though each revelation was reshaping her comprehension of herself, intertwining her identity with the lineage she'd sought to escape. She was strong, Angela emphasized, but she also struggled with her chains. This insight struck a chord deep within Emily. She realized that her grandmother's chains sometimes mirrored her own. The self-imposed restrictions she had built to protect herself felt both familiar and alien now. She had built walls against vulnerability, against connections, thinking it would lead to freedom. Yet here was her family's legacy, reminding her that growth only blossomed when faced head-on. Thank you for sharing this with me, Emily finally responded, her voice steadier than it had been. I hope to reclaim what was lost, not just for myself, but for us all. As they hung up, an undeniable shift took place within her. This was not merely a reconnection. It was an awakening, a sense of belonging fierce and frightening. She acknowledged that every decision she made now had the power to redefine her narrative, interweaving her own emerging identity with the lessons from her past. Feeling a surge of inspiration, she moved to her desk, grabbing a notebook and a pencil. She began jotting down ideas, questions, and thoughts on how to weave her family's tales into her own narrative. They would become part of the new story she would construct, not as burdens but as foundations of strength. But just as determination surged, a shadow of doubt began to hover. What would her next steps entail, and how would others react to the changes within her focus and identity? Then a text notification erupted from her phone, distracting her from spiraling thoughts. The sender was unexpected, but the message was electrifying. I need to talk to you about your grandmother's estate. It's urgent. Emily's heart raced anew. The moment had arrived to face not just her past but the tangible pieces of it that still existed in the present. How this would alter her journey she was not yet sure, but the stakes had never felt higher. The pulls of legacy and personal ambition entangled, and she knew she was on the verge of a pivotal challenge. What awaited her, and to what lengths would she go to reclaim not just her identity but the heritage that loomed over every choice she faced? The answers lay ahead, and each revelation seemed to promise a new layer of conflict she could not ignore. Emily sat back in her chair, notebook poised in her lap, the urgency of the message pulsing in her mind. The implications of her grandmother's estate outweighed any previous sense of relief she had felt. She could no longer separate her present from the legacy that had now been thrust upon her, with all its complexity and weight. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm the storm of emotions inside. This wasn't just about property or possessions. It was a chance to dive deeper into the rich tapestry of her family's past. The urgency in the text had nudged her forward, yet a pit of uncertainty gnawed at her. The challenges ahead would be more than just logistical. They would require a confrontation with feelings she had long buried. Her fingers moved across the blank pages of her notebook, writing down questions that pressed at her consciousness. What did her grandmother leave behind, both materially and emotionally? How would she navigate the expectations of those still tied to this lineage? More importantly, how could she ensure that she did not carry the burdens of the past like chains, but rather harness them as tools for strength? The thought of attending the meeting about the estate became an immediate necessity, but the anxiety of it tangled with a growing resolve. Emily's thoughts drifted back to Angela's stories, rich with lessons about resilience. If her grandmother could fight through her own chains, why couldn't she? A few hours later, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, Emily found herself outside a plain brick building that housed the attorney's office. The journey here had felt surreal. She was stepping into a part of her life that had previously felt so distant. She straightened her back, squared her shoulders, and took a deep breath before entering. Inside, the scent of polished wood and paper filled the air. She approached the reception desk, heart racing anew, not just from nervousness but from the sense of purpose that she had ignited within herself. "I'm here to see Mr. Thompson," she said, her voice steadier than before. "Yes, Ms. Reed, he's expecting you," the receptionist replied, her smile warm and reassuring. Emily was ushered into a modestly decorated conference room where Mr. Thompson awaited. Dressed in a professional suit, he was all business as he extended a hand. "Emily, thank you for coming. We have some important matters to discuss regarding your grandmother's estate." As they exchanged pleasantries, Emily caught sight of a neatly arranged stack of documents on the table. The weight of her past settled heavily as Mr. Thompson began detailing the legal proceedings. Her grandmother's will, the estate's value, and the responsibilities now in her hands. Each word sliced through the surface of her thoughts, pushing her to confront the reality of her inheritance and the stories intertwined with it. The conversation shifted to the family members who would also be involved. "There are several aspects of the estate that will need consensus among the heirs," he explained, glancing at her intently. "Your direct involvement will be essential." Fear threaded through her, colliding with her awakened determination. Would they welcome her engagement, or would old grudges and resentments surface? The stakes felt impossibly high, and yet a thrill coursed through her. There was a chance for reconciliation, a path toward understanding not only her heritage but also the present relationships she had distanced herself from. "Let's talk about your vision," Mr. Thompson prompted, noting her contemplative silence. "What would you like to do with your inheritance? This is your time to define how your grandmother's legacy lives on." A realization washed over Emily. This was not merely about acceptance. This was about reconstructing a narrative, taking ownership of her identity, and forging connections that resonated with authenticity. She felt the weight of responsibility, but more importantly, empowerment enveloped her. She could choose how these stories would influence her future. "I want to create a space for family reconnection," she stated resolutely, surprising even herself with the clarity of her intentions. "I want to preserve our history and use it as a foundation for something new, something unifying." As she spoke, a vision crystallized in her mind, a project that would honor her grandmother's memory while inviting the family to begin healing. Mr. Thompson nodded, intrigue replaced by approval as he noted her response. "That is a thoughtful approach and will likely pave the way to understanding and cooperation among your family." With the discussion about her ideas concluded, they shifted back to the logistics. But in Emily's mind, the resolve to navigate this complex landscape was solidified. She felt a tide of possibilities surge as she left the meeting. Emily knew she was stepping into a confrontation, not just with family but with her own fears, insecurities, and the very narrative she had once feared to embrace. What would her family think of her vision, and would they stand beside her or resist? As she walked out of the office, the answers lingered tantalizingly just beyond her reach, pushing her toward the next chapter of her journey, a convergence of past and future that awaited unfolding. Emily spent the following days oscillating between excitement and anxiety, visualizing the meeting with her family that would be pivotal to her vision. Her grandmother's legacy was more than a legal obligation. It was a bridge to personal and emotional emancipation. Yet the fear of rejection loomed large. She often found herself lost in thoughts while trying to strategize the best way to present her ideas. In the evenings, she flipped through the pages of her grandmother's old journals, seeking insight into the woman who had shaped the family dynamics. The entries depicted a vibrant spirit, intertwined with tales of struggle and triumph. There lay lessons in her resilience, but also warnings about the complexities of family ties. It reminded her to tread carefully. Emotions were volatile, relationships fragile. Armed with newfound determination, Emily made a list of the family members she wanted to involve. Each name carried with it a multitude of memories, some fond, some tainted by past grievances. As she sat down one morning with her coffee, she allowed herself to review each person's strengths and vulnerabilities. Who among them could be champions of her vision? Who might resist or resent it? She began to formulate a plan, a method to encourage open dialogue. The prospect excited her. Maybe this was her calling, to become a mediator of sorts. This perspective reframed her worries into a personal mission, pushing her toward the understanding that conflict could also usher in growth. Past grievances could give way to healing, if only they would be willing to engage. On one particularly tense afternoon, she decided to practice her speech. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, fingers gripping the edges of the sink. Family is more than blood. It's about shared stories, she began, her voice steadying as she grew more confident in her words. With each repetition, she felt the weight of doubt lessen, eclipsed by a glimmer of hope that maybe her family would listen. The day of the meeting arrived, and Emily felt both a surge of adrenaline and a creeping doubt that threatened to unearth her previous insecurities. She arrived early, allowing herself a moment of solitude before stepping into the fray. As she lifted her phone to check the time, she scrolled through the messages, a reminder of Sarah's advice. Trust your gut, Em. You know them better than anyone else. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the family home where the gathering would occur, a place steeped in nostalgia and conflicts alike. The world inside felt heavy with ghosts of unresolved disputes and half-finished conversations. Their faces were familiar, yet anxiety skittered across her skin. Emily, it's good to see you. Her cousin Tom greeted first, but the tension thickened as she noticed the way he shifted in his seat. Old family dynamics were treacherously unpredictable. As everyone assembled, she felt the collective breath of her family, anticipation mixed with skepticism. She stood before them, a mix of loved ones and distant relatives, all looking to her as the barometer of what this meeting might unfold. I appreciate you all coming together today, she began, meeting their eyes one at a time, carefully gauging their reactions. I know we've had our share of differences, but today isn't about the past. It's about how we can move forward. Her voice wavered slightly but steadied as she continued to articulate her vision for family reconnection, an invitation for shared stories, healing from old wounds, and the construction of a legacy together. As she dismissed the fear, she noticed nodding heads and apprehensive frowns. The conversation unfolded organically, at times confrontational, but more often than not curious. One by one, each family member shared their emotions, deep regrets, past grievances, and unfulfilled longings. Emily felt a growing sense of collective purpose emerge, intermingled with her own transformative journey. However, as the dialogue progressed, an unexpected voice emerged, her estranged aunt Linda, who had carried resentment like armor. This all sounds lovely, but what makes you think we're ready for this? You've distanced yourself over the years, she challenged, her words sharper than the others. Emily's heart raced. This was it. The true test. Would she bend, or would she stand her ground? With a deep breath, she steadied herself against the wave of vulnerability, embracing the truth in her aunt's words. I know I've distanced myself, but I want to change that, she admitted. Family is worth fighting for, and I'm here, ready to take that first step. The room hung heavy with silence, the air thick with anticipation. Emily searched their faces for signs of acceptance. Would they see her resolve, or would her attempt at reconciliation ignite further conflict? This moment could dictate her next steps, both personally and collectively. As she locked eyes with Linda, a fragile thread of connection sparked between them, and she wondered if this was the moment everything would begin to shift. But would the meeting conclude with unity, or would old wounds remain too raw to heal? The answers lingered tantalizingly beyond grasp, pushing her further into the depths of her family's fractured legacy and toward a confrontation she could not yet foresee. The silence that enveloped the room felt like a storm cloud, dense and foreboding. Emily's breath caught in her throat as her eyes remained locked on Aunt Linda's defiant stare. Would this meeting dissolve into chaos, or could it serve as the turning point she'd envisioned? Around her, the familiar faces of her family flickered with various emotions: confusion, curiosity, and latent skepticism, the same attitudes that had defined their interactions for years. She sensed the weight of expectations, the hopes and disappointments tangling around them like a web. Emily could feel a palpable tension feeding from the histories they shared, and the reminder of how complicated love could be and often was. "Why should we believe you now?" Linda pressed, her expression a mixture of challenge and hurt. The sharpness of her words cut through the tension, and once again, Emily found herself wrestling with both doubt and a burgeoning sense of conviction. She understood the roots of Linda's skepticism. They shared a common history of estrangement. "To be honest, I don't expect you to trust me right away," Emily replied slowly, her voice warmer now, almost pleading for empathy. "It's going to take time. What I want us to do here today is to embrace that time together. Healing isn't immediate. It's a journey, and I'm committed to taking that journey with each of you. But I need your willingness too." She saw a flicker in Linda's eyes, a moment of contemplation that suggested a crack in her armor, and with that flicker, Emily summoned a bit more courage. "I may not have been present in the past, but today isn't about blame. It's about redefining our future." The air shifted slightly, charged with a new understanding. Some relatives began to nod, diversifying the emotional spectrum in the room. Emily seized this moment, the intangible spark igniting her speech, galvanizing her energy. "Let's each share not just our frustrations, but also our hopes. What does family mean to you? What can we build together, starting today?" I want to give us all that opportunity. As the conversation opened further, voices grew louder and mixed. Cousin Tom shared how he felt overshadowed during family events, while Emily's uncle Robert revealed how he had put up walls to protect himself, not realizing they kept the family out. The stories quilted together, forming a tapestry of hidden hopes and struggles. Emily felt each revelation settle into the pit of her stomach. This was raw and real, filled with pain but also potential. However, a hollow tension lurked beneath the unity they momentarily forged. Emily surveyed the room, noting the hesitance of certain family members, still entrenched in their grievances. What if this wasn't just about healing but also about dismantling entrenched biases? Choosing the right moment, she directed her gaze back to Linda. "I want you to share your story, Aunt Linda. I know things are complex between us. I never wanted my absence to feel like rejection. What can I do to help bridge that gap?" Linda shifted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. The tension in the room seemed to tilt, making way for revelation. "I thought you'd never understand," she admitted, and the vulnerability in her voice softened Emily's resolve. Emily felt her heart race. This was pivotal. The moment held weight. It was where confrontation met understanding. That connection lingered in the air, longing to be cultivated. You taught me resilience. You taught me the importance of family. I want us to build on that. With each exchange, old wounds began to surface, mixed with moments of unexpected vulnerability. Emily witnessed growth interweaving like threads in fabric, leading her closer to a collective commitment to change. But beneath the surface of unity, she felt the sharp pang of a singular truth. There were still unsaid feelings, unaddressed hurt, lingering between the lines, and as voices began to overlap, the atmosphere thick with anticipation of what they were about to commit to, Emily felt an unease settle back in. Was her vision shared fully, or were there hidden fears yet to be unveiled that could tear this fragile fabric apart? Could the family truly confront their past, or would it all unravel before the thread was sewn? The prospect of rediscovery hung palpably, and with it, a new challenge emerged. The secret longings of another family member could shift everything once again. The tension danced in the air, and Emily caught a glimpse of discontent on Linda's face, followed by a brief exchange between cousins, voices barely rising above a whisper. What would be revealed next? Who else among them carried unspoken burdens, waiting to disrupt their fragile progress? As the room reverberated with the murmurs of families grappling with their truths, Emily's mind raced, flashing through every moment that had led her here. She had driven herself to this breaking point, determined to chart a new course for herself and those she loved. Yet as she listened to the emotional echoes of her family's experiences, she felt the weight of responsibility settling heavily on her shoulders. The chatter faded into the background as her eyes searched for Linda, who appeared to be at a crossroads of her own emotions. Something flickered behind Linda's defenses, a longing for connection mingled with fear of vulnerability. Emily breathed deeply, knowing the stakes had risen. This moment could either shatter the tentative progress they had begun, or ignite an extraordinary transformation. Let's try to articulate what we truly need from one another, Emily suggested, her voice grounded and calm. What have we pushed aside or buried that's still weighing on our hearts? This posed an implicit challenge to the whole room, and the air felt charged under the pressure. Linda rubbed her temples, a signal of her internal conflict. Emily's heart pounded. How could she encourage true dialogue without provoking the fracture that always seemed lurking? Tom spoke up again, tension etched on his face. We need honesty but also understanding, he began, their eyes drawn toward him. I've felt like a ghost in this family. His vulnerability resonated. Others nodded hesitantly in agreement. Emily seized the moment, propelled by an urge to bridge these conversations into actionable progress. Exactly, Tom. Here's an idea, she proposed. What if we each write down something we wish we could change about our relationships? It could be a hope, a fear, anything that urges us to keep the walls up. Afterward, we could start talking about them honestly. The suggestion rippled through the room. Emily's desire to instigate meaningful change transformed into calculated courage, crafting a form of engagement that was both safe and challenging. She felt a wave of uncertainty mixed with anticipation. This could lay bare the true nature of their bonds or descend into chaos. An absorbing quiet filled the space as family members processed the proposition. Aunt Linda's gaze sharpened and Emily sensed a momentary spark of defensiveness. What if those truths leave us more fractured than we already are? She challenged, her tone aggressive yet mournful, a simultaneous warning and plea for reassurance. Emily met her eyes, steadiness overriding doubt. Or what if they free us? She countered gently. If we don't confront these truths, we continue buried beneath our grief. Change requires bravery, and I'm asking for that bravery from all of you. As silence claimed the room, Emily's mind darted through the implications of her suggestion. Could she actually guide them through this minefield of potential rawness? Finally, Linda spoke again, though her voice trembled. Fine, I'll share mine first, but understand that I'm scared. Emily's heart quickened, ready to absorb whatever Linda had held back. The other family members sat in attentive stillness, all anticipating the truth that Linda would unveil, a truth perched delicately on the precipice of vulnerability. Could this one moment serve as the catalyst for a monumental shift in their relationships? As Linda began to articulate her fears about being abandoned, about the walls she herself had constructed, Emily found her own anxieties echoing the shared experience. This moment was not only about family healing, it created an opening for her own personal evolution. The past and future overlapped with each word spoken, broadening horizons. Yet, even as the ideas flowed, Emily caught glimpses of the family members who remained quiet, lingering shadows that hinted at deeper secrets. Anxiety rocketed through her. What might they reveal? And more pressing, would the layered truths prove destructive to the fragile bonds they had begun to weave? The interplay of emotions hummed in the air, tension balanced on a knife's edge, fostering both anticipation and dread. At that moment, Emily realized that this was merely the beginning. She had set the stage for a confrontation, but the outcome remained shrouded in uncertainty. Waiting to explode or heal, what unspoken fears were still lurking in the dark corners of their hearts? As Linda continued to share, Emily's gut twisted with the question that gnawed at her. Who would be courageous enough to face their truth next? As the words slipped from Linda's lips, each confession stirred the room deeper into a space of rawness and revelation. Emily watched as her aunt's eyes glistened with unshed tears, the weight of years pinned against the verge of release. With every disclosure, Emily felt a fissure dissolve, not only within the family dynamics but within her own perception of connection. I built walls isolating myself, Linda admitted, voice quivering but insistent. I swore I'd never allow anyone to hurt me again. But by doing so, I hurt all of you. The tension in the room shifted, a collective exhale enveloping them all. Recognition blossomed among family members, understanding illuminating faces that had once been clouded by miscommunication and fear. Emily sensed an urgency building. They were standing on the precipice of profound collective self-awareness. Taking a small step forward, she prompted gently, "What else have we kept buried? What legacies do we inherit? Not just in possessions or reputations, but in our choices and our fears." This time Tom responded, his voice steadier. "I want to be seen and heard. Each time we gather, I feel like I'm just invisible." The vulnerability in his admission echoed through the room, releasing unspoken sighs of recognition. Faces softened, shoulders dropped as defensiveness yielded to the echo of shared struggles. Each revelation became a thread weaving them closer together, a tapestry cascading with hues of resilience and interconnectivity. Emily realized how much these conversations served as reflections of her internal journey. Each family member peeling back layers of their truths helped her cut through the layers of her self-imposed isolation. After what felt like hours, as each member took their turn voicing fears and aspirations, something profound settled among them. Fragments of longing shifted from whispers to declarations. Emily barely recognized the relatives who once felt like strangers, now revealing stories drenched in emotion and lived experience. Then it was Linda's turn again, her expression softer. "Emily, I want to apologize to you personally. I didn't realize how my actions would leave you feeling disconnected from this family." The sincerity encapsulated a lifetime of misunderstanding, and Emily felt that burdensome river of resentment begin to recede like a tide. "I appreciate that, Aunt Linda," Emily said, allowing her heart to open further. "It's been hard for me to bridge the gaps, but I want you all to know that I'm here to help build those bridges, not just for me, but for all of us." As they continued to share, Emily felt a fire igniting within her, an understanding that personal growth was not just a solo achievement, but an invitation for collective healing. This was not the resolution she had initially imagined. Reality painted a more intricate picture, one that involved deep-seated vulnerabilities and expansive opportunities for understanding. Eventually, as the room began to quiet again, one cousin, Angela, finally spoke up. "What happens next? Can we really make this commitment?" Her hesitance brought a grounding clarity. They needed actionable steps to turn this moment into a lasting legacy of unity. Emily's adrenaline pulsed. She felt the opportunity before her dawning with clarity. I propose we gather regularly, a family circle of sorts. We can share not only stories but craft new experiences together. Let's build traditions that honor our past, but invite a new future. The room swelled with nods of agreement and murmurs of enthusiasm. It felt monumental, the collective acknowledgement of their histories translating into a conscious choice to embrace shared healing. Agreed. Let's not shy away from the difficult parts either, Linda added, her voice laced with newfound authority. We can unearth the burdens together, both the weight and the wisdom. Emily felt a rush of satisfaction. This is what fight and resolution felt like. Every voice representing threads for a new weaving, one that merged pain and strength, forging resilience in the face of adversity. Before they closed the meeting, Emily sought a last moment to encapsulate the progress they had made. I want to thank each of you for taking this step with me. Today has forever changed how we narrate our story. We've scratched the surface on what it means to be a family, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. With energy radiating from them all, the family dispersed into a state of revitalization, seeds of connection stemming from the roots of their shared and storied past. As she stepped outside into the crisp evening air, Emily felt a cementing clarity settle within her. She had embraced not just her family's legacy, but intertwined it with her own aspirations, embarking on this journey together. It was her moment of transformation. Herself, her childhood dreams now harmonizing with a new shared vision. She had not just confronted her grandmother's legacy. She had rewritten its narrative by choosing connection over estrangement. No longer merely searching for approval, but now living in empowerment. With renewed purpose, Emily realized how crucial it was to stay committed not just to her truth, but to the ways in which their stories would continue to unfold. This was her achievement, transformation through authentic connection. It was not merely an end, but the beginning of their new family chapter, one anchored firmly in love, understanding, and the pursuit of belonging. It was a story she was proud to co-author. So to each of you who resonate with stories of overcoming, or the struggles of family legacies, your journey matters, and your voice will shape not just who you are, but who you can become. You need to subscribe now to ensure you stay connected for the next pivotal episode in these emotional narratives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your engagement keeps these stories alive. Comment below with your thoughts. How has your family shaped your journey? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this evolution. Let's understand together.